What happened with the Red Sox? 12-16 after the All-Star break. You see on the screen James Paxton coming out after an injury, and there's Kenley Jansen, the closer for the Red Sox. The Red Sox have been bad after the All-Star break, and this is the tweet here, the X-post, whatever you want to call it now, from Steve Perot. The Red Sox lose these games. The Astros win these games. This is the furthest the Red Sox have been out of the playoffs all season, and it sucks. And it does suck. And it felt like to me that this sort of thing was going to stop. So for those who are not in tune, the Red Sox blew another game last night, losing to the Houston Astros on a walk-off home run by catcher Yanier Diaz, who is a great offensive catcher, leads the team in RBIs in Houston. But before we break that down, welcome everyone to Red Sox Digest, albeit a little bit more of a depressing episode, but thank you all for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe for more Red Sox content, keeping you up to date on everything Red Sox right now. I'm Evan Sharrard. Thank you for joining me. Steve Perot is right, and the Red Sox have just kind of sucked. They've sucked after the All-Star break, and I find it really ironic because I made a video just about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, talking about why this Red Sox team was different from the past few seasons where the Red Sox have been middling around and finishing like 81-81, even though they hadn't. But they're basically like a 500 baseball team is what they've been, and everybody was upset that they weren't spending money, yada, yada, yada. So I said this team was different because the pitching is actually great now, and it was great. And I don't think that there's been a lot that's really changed besides Cutter Crawford's being barreled up like crazy and Tanner Houck's been cold and giving up home runs. That guy can't stop giving up home runs. It's nuts. But he had a good game against the Astros, but it still hurts because it's actually not the starting pitching. So what happened with this team? What happened? Well, to me, a lot of this is the pitching, and it's not the starting pitching. Let's just look here. Bring you up in the bigger screen here. So I was boasting the Red Sox pitching being in the top 5 in the American League, and it's not far out of it now, but this is a significant drop. I mean, the Red Sox offense it currently has the highest batting average in I think all of baseball, 262. It's certainly the tops in the American League. 262 average is World Series championship offense. So we're not going to be talking about the offense at all because that really hasn't been the problem. Although the Red Sox have lost a few games where, hey, you know, I like to say if you can't score 5 runs, you shouldn't be surprised if you lose. Scoring 5 runs a game is kind of the hallmark of you probably are going to win if you have a good pitching outing, good enough. So that being said, the Red Sox pitching is sitting at a 1.06 ERA plus, and for those who are uninitiated, anything above 100 is above league average by however many points, and anything below it is below. So the Red Sox were sitting like 10 points above league average at some points this season, but right now they're just sitting 6 points above average. They're 4 points above the Twins. And I really want to look at the records of these teams that are sitting right up here. So we see all the teams that suck at pitching are below league average, and there's only one of them that doesn't totally suck, and that's the Baltimore Orioles, who have a sensational offense, and they have great players all around the board. And their pitching story, I'd love to look into because that actually surprises me that they're that low. But I'm sure that the numbers support that. They are a great offensive ball club as well. And they're one of the few that I think are above the Red Sox. I think the Yankees and Red Sox are the two above the Yankees and the Orioles are the two above the Red Sox in the American League offensively. So that's why the Orioles are better, right? But the rest of these teams suck, and we're going to get back to this White Sox team down here that's 30-96, one of the worst teams I've ever seen, because they actually have a lot to do with this video, I mean, we'll get to it. It sucks. So the pitching, it's really kind of dropped off, and there is a big reason for this. I said blown games, and it really has been blown. The Red Sox have blown save after save, game after game. They're not all blown saves, but a lot of them are. This team was really good and looked like a top baseball team. Now they're sitting 4.5 out of the wild card. These are courtesy of ESPN, and they are 2 games ahead of the Mariners. Look how close this is. I mean, the Rays, we've barely talked about the Rays at all. They sold at the deadline. They're only 3 games out from 3rd in the AL East. And while the Red Sox are 4.5 out of the wild card, I mean, this is these teams are tough ahead of them. Do you really think that the Red Sox can catch up to the Orioles? Yeah, I mean, I think all this is possible, but it really needs to turn around. And even though it's been just a month, running out of time, saying it's been just a month 4 months ago is okay because you have 5 months ahead, but now that's not true anymore. So we're really getting down to the wire here. And I was talking about blown games. That's what this chapter is. Look at this. So this is of all teams in Major League Baseball, and I key you in to, I know the highlighted stat there is blown saves, but I key you in to the wins and losses here. 30 and 96, and they've got 30 blown saves. That's the Chicago White Sox. Their pitching is awful. Their batting is awful. They are the worst team in baseball. Their stadium is awful. I'll stop talking about that. But the Red Sox are second in blown saves. And so many of these have been in the last month, 2 months. And it's not really all Kenley Jansen's fault. I mean, he had the yips for a little bit, but he's been solid. It's just the whole bullpen, and I know they've been hurt, and Lucas Sims has actually been pretty good since they traded for him. It just hasn't, I mean, they just haven't performed like they did in the first half of the season, and whether it was Greg Weissert being sent down to AAA because he lost control of his slider, or just the overall rise in runs allowed and batters allowed on base, it's really brutal, and they have not been able to sustain those injuries very well. It's tragic, really tragic, just what's happened. The 3 teams here, and the Diamondbacks are another example of a team that's had a really good run of it despite bad pitching. But the Red Sox are not making up for their bad pitching right now. And you can only ask so much of an offense. So even though the Dodgers are sitting there in 3rd, I don't really think we have to talk much about why they're sitting there in 3rd. I think that there are a few teams that you could send out onto the field with just okay pitching and say that team is a World Series contender. But when you put 2 or 3 of the world's best players, and I don't mean just, oh yeah, major league player. I mean like Shohei Ohtani is a top 50 player of all time. And Mookie Betts is getting up there in terms of outfielders. He's certainly top 15, no matter really what you're thinking. I think higher of Betts than that, but you're talking about 2 of the greatest players ever, 3 of the greatest hitters ever. This Dodgers team, there's a reason that they're there. So it's just been a bummer. The Red Sox have been blowing games. I love to get down into some deeper analytics, but this doesn't really require it. It's pretty simple. And whether it's like, well, who is it that's doing it wrong? It's just it's a unit-wide struggle for the Red Sox bullpen, and it kind of sucks because it was really their strength at the beginning of the year. So that's that. That's the team pitching from a while ago. This is this is weeks old at this point. But Tanner Houck's ERA is now over 3. Cutter Crawford's is up over 4. So just a really big time bummer overall. And it doesn't really get easier. And that's I think the biggest letdown is not just are they going cold right now, but they're going cold at one of the most important times. So this is the schedule, the remaining schedule. So this is September. Let's get back to August 1st. So I'll bump that up for you guys to see. So it is of the day that I'm filming this. It is August 20th. So depending on when this goes up, you can adjust for, okay, Red Sox won against Houston or lost, and maybe it'll go up when they're playing Arizona. Hopefully it'll be today. But they're playing a playoff team in the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they're playing a division game against the Blue Jays, and then they'll go into Detroit. So Detroit's tough. Toronto, you hope you can win 3 of the 4. That's what you hope for. Hopefully you win all 4 against a team that's really been publicly a letdown. I mean, their president said stuff that's like, this is probably the biggest letdown we've ever had. Moving on, September, one more game against Detroit, and then you play the Mets, who are usually pretty tough. The worst team in baseball, who you need to sweep. You can't lose a game to the White Sox. And then it really comes down to the stretch, where you play the New York Yankees for 4. Maybe the best team in the American League, maybe the best team in baseball when they're playing their best. But for my money, they're not. But still, really good baseball team. Then you play the Rays, always tough to play, low-scoring affairs. Have to beat them. The Twins, who are currently vying for a playoff spot. You must beat them if you want to make a playoff. And then you have to play the Blue Jays and the Rays again, who will both, if the Red Sox have fared well in these final month span area, will be vying to blow the Red Sox right out of the playoffs. So they're going to be playing as tough as they can. It's a tough road. And someone who's been talking about the Red Sox as one of the best teams in the American League and the league, and thinking this team's different, they are for real. I think that they are for real, and I think that the injuries have really hurt them, but now they're really going to have to prove that they're ready, because this team is a good baseball team with chances to be great, and I've talked about how this team can be great. And right now they're at one of those do-or-die moments. They're sitting on the outside looking in to the playoffs. And it's been one of the tougher years for American League teams to make the playoffs. It's not just, the AL East got 4 teams this year. No, the standings are tough. It's going to be a tough ride for the Red Sox for the rest of the season. Their bullpen has really been brutal. They've been losing games because they can't close them out late. And it's just been really disappointing to watch. So I'm sorry that I couldn't bring us Red Sox fans up, but that's what's going on. And I'm hopeful that they can turn it around. But at this point, it remains to be seen. And I think we'll have our answer within the next week of whether the Red Sox are going to be still in this spot or pushing. Yep, okay, they're back. And now let's win these games, or wow, we just lost 5 straight. We're probably done. So with that being said, thank you all for watching. I'm Evan Sharrard for Red Sox Digest, saying so long once again.